This particular document, what we have done is, although the OTHM qualification is not graded, pass, merit, and distinction, you only are required to achieve a pass. But if you see what we have done in some of the other qualifications that we offer, there are some words which we associate wherein you have to write minimum 70 to 75 words or 100 words maximum. They tend to be pass words. Then you have merit words, which is 150 to 225, where you require additional evidence apart from just the explanation or description. You would need to put a theoretical framework or maybe take a live working real world example. And then you have distinction command verbs, where you have words which are more complex, like evaluate, evaluate critically, or criticize. Here, you have to build your opinion on the basis of some theory and some example, and then towards the end also conclude. Now, if you do the assignments with this particular document in mind and look at the definition of it, it will inform you how you need to prepare the evidence. So if I say, it says explanation of how internal conventions work. So if I go into explain, it says set out the meaning of something in detail with some reasons, but more or less you're writing things about how and why related to internal conventions of health and safety in an organization. So you're not going to details of, say, for example, I would not quote laws and regulations here like health and safety executive, or look at the health and safety law of 2008, which is the legislation or the act, and then not quote something related to regulatory aspect of it. But here, what I would just do is describe it, explain some of the key terms, and that would be it, and that would meet the requirements of the assignment. So this particular document would be useful when you do the assessment or when you write the assignment, for your subsequent units. The second, I think one of the things which sometimes awarding bodies fail to understand, and you are okay with that, is that sometimes here, because it's UK English, you have US English and other forms of English, there is a specific bit which they expect learners at level 6 and 7 courses at bachelor's or master's level. They want learners to be able to write in UK English because you're doing a UK qualification. So sometimes I know you do your spell check because we don't find any grammatical errors in the document. But some instances of this is the lecturer being picky because it's a requirement with OTHM, and when the external examiner looks at it, they will make a comment and give us a remark in the report to say the center is not signposting the use of US English or grammatical errors to the learner. It is a very simple thing, but it is not something that you need to take it seriously, because even when we do mark your assignment, what we do is we also take it through a grammatical check to ensure that punctuation, grammar, and those kind of capitalization or changes of language from UK to US English, US English to UK English happens. So there would be, that was the second feedback which was put in as developmental feedback to you from Sanjay. And I think one of the other last thing that he put across is, because when we write the assignments, it is always understood that you write it in third person's language. I try and shy away from using I or we, but we write in third person's language. They or the theory suggests, or this evidence suggests, rather than saying my experience or it sounds like. So there were some instances where you have used your experience. And in such cases, what has happened is, because the assignment is all about academic writing, it needs to be referenced. Where are you taking this material from? Life is all about statistics. Sometimes I have to make you believe that this is the case, but I would say, okay, this has been proven in a study done by Oxford College to say, and suddenly you have more attention to it because it is quoting statistic. So here also, sometimes when you use the first language or first person's language, and assuming because you have great amount of experience and you're working within the organization wherein you're able to bring that in, my suggestion would be to look at doing a small bit of introduction on the unit before you start the assignment, and towards the end do a conclusion, because that will inform the lecturer that you are actually going to use your experience or data from within your own organizations that will be quoted within the assignment. and that might not be necessarily referenced because that is coming from your experience, that is coming from your day-to-day operations, and in such cases, that informs the lecturer that okay, the work is a combination of academic work, but also work which is coming in because of the experience that you have. Is that
Mm.
okay? So
Yeah.
that bit wherein he says that the referencing is 100% appropriate, but in some cases you could eliminate repetition by doing away with the use of words, which is looking at things like this sounds like or it sounds more like. That would be, written in a third-party language. That would say, according to the experience I have witnessed, or according to the experience of working within the organization, I have seen one, two, three, four. But if it is explained in the introduction part of it at the start of the assignment, then lecturer very clearly gets it, or the assessor clearly gets it, that this work is going to be a combination of not just academic work, but also work which is practical experience being quoted by the learner.
Mm. But okay, that's good. But I recall that have I did write introduction and the conclusion. No, it is
There is
written.
an introduction, yes. That introduction is more for the introduction of the unit.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
in the end, that induction is absolutely fine. You've written. In the end, you could also say that during the course of my compilation of evidence, I have used my personal experiences of working within the organization XYZ. If you don't want to name PwC, you could say I've
Mm.
used the personal instances of my work experience, which are quoted as examples in some of the tasks.
So if I have written that, then I should be fine.
That should be fine. That should be perfectly okay. Because even when the external examiner sees it, they don't know that you're working in this organization. They don't know that this is coming out of experience. They don't get to see anything. They are not even aware that how old are you, what your previous experiences and things like that. What they are expecting to do is see an academic piece of work which is written in third person language, that is in text having referencing, and that is backed up by some statistical evidence or data which is coming either from books,
Mm.
articles, journals, or anything which is peer referenced, case study or a journal. But there are units that I've done. I did my, master's in law, and I have quoted a lot of things in my dissertation which have come primarily from experience, because I looked at the assessment methods, and in those cases, my thesis was primarily based on how the assessment methods are different between universities and colleges. So I have
Mm.
used a lot of my experience, but I've explained that. And towards the end, what I've done is I've added annexures to show that this is what I mean and this is what the detailing of the evidence I've included is in towards the annexures, because annexures don't count towards word limit, so I can attach them towards the end. I can attach a format, a risk assessment template, health and safety policy, whatever is relevant for the unit. You can attach it as an annexure to show that this is what I'm referencing and this is what I mean when I'm referencing it in the assignment.
Okay. Okay. Now I
But
understand.
apart from that, I think work is fine. I think what you have to be careful about is that some units, for example, when you look at principles of health and safety, is purely theoretical. But when you look at this particular unit, this is theoretical plus practical, because a lot of them, in terms of the assessment criteria, are asking you to evaluate. They are not just explain or describe or outline. They are, most of it are evaluate, and that is where when it says evaluate or outline, what you would be benefiting from is basically including annexures which will show why you've mentioned this as an evidence or why you've included this in the evidence. Is that okay?
Okay. Well, yeah, that's right. That's okay. I understand. But regarding okay, so this is the third point. The first point was about the word count. Okay, I did stick to 4,000, but maybe how they were divided for each one of the tasks, maybe I haven't looked into that correct. I have just looked at 4,000 words. That's it. So maybe I can take this
That's
into
perfect.
consideration.
That's perfect. I think
Yeah.
that is
This,
where I think the word count limit, he hasn't mentioned it in the feedback. Although in the cover sheet, if I show this to you,
yeah.
in the cover sheet, you've maybe mentioned 3,500. but actual word count of the assignment without references and table of content is 4,800, which is meeting the criteria of the assignment.
Okay, so there is no
No,
comment about the word.
there is no reason. He has not mentioned anything in terms of feedback on the uh,
Uh,
on the word count. No, simply
okay,
because that is there. You have met that criteria. Maybe
okay,
this error is here, so it will be, something I can. This is something which one of my colleagues, Suknur, will actually correct, and she will change it once it is submitted to the external examiner. At
okay,
some
okay,
stage, she will
okay.
correct this.
Okay, so then, okay, I understand the third one. The first, so we had two comments, two
Mhm.
constructive comments, or three?
We had three comments. One
Yeah,
was
okay,
report lacked clarity, which is basically sections, that you have done are okay, but essentially in some cases the lecturer actually felt that if you had broken it down into clear headings or subheadings with some breakages in paragraph, for example, this one
yeah,
here, I could have, broken it down into one or two headings because you are including a lot of evidence that would have been useful. Maybe like you have done a table. So here it talks about input, output of product, services, contractors, visitors, equipment, goods, and everything. If you had
yeah,
done a table, maybe using ChatGPT, do a table of what you've actually written. It helps you compile a table nicely. And that
yeah. So,
evidence then becomes quite clinical because it will show very clinically what is the contractor supposed to do, what are the employees supposed to do, what are the visitors supposed to do. So
uh,
here
so
he had mentioned.
better than a long paragraph.
Yeah, that's correct. And the
Why is
second
that?
one was grammatical errors or inconsistencies, which obviously aren't many. It's only the UK versus US English. And the last was trying to look at eliminating phrases where it sounds like or it feels like wherein you are writing in first language or second language. That can be easily done away with if you, in your introduction, just mention that I'll be using some examples from my own place of work. And that would give the lecturer a very clear idea that, okay, part of the work is going to be descriptive, and that part of work is going to be basically practical experience or examples coming from the place of work.
Okay, then in this case, I can use the first person opinion.
Yes, you can use that first. Yes, first person
Yes.
in that language. Yeah,
Okay, so regarding the first comment, so I would sum it as like long paragraphs can be broken down into tables
correct,
or,
correct.
but what's wrong with long paragraphs, I may ask,
What's wrong with, sorry?
with the long paragraphs?
There is nothing wrong with the long paragraphs. There are some tasks, which are quite meaty. That means they require a lot of evidence. So sometimes it is better to break it down so that the evidence is very clear. It is picked up as very clear evidence. This particular task, when you look at, the roles and responsibilities, which is here, talks about, evaluate workplace health and safety requirements, right? Now, here the workplace requirements are to be examined from a point of view of contractors, visitors, and employees. And you can have one row or a column for equipment, goods, or materials as well. Just classify it as material. Now, when you presented the evidence, I would have made a few points for contractors. I would have made a few points for visitors. I would have made a few points for employees or essentially people who are working within the organization,
Mm.
and that would have actually categorically given the evidence, or very clearly given the evidence in each of the subcategory or subheading. So if I were to look at doing this myself, one second. I would have essentially, after writing this, I would have maybe given a table towards the end, and that table would have just very clearly either a table or a small heading, which is health and safety requirements for contractors, health and safety requirement for employees, health and safety requirement for visitors. So an example of that would be you might have written a couple of points here, but just generally thinking health and safety requirement for visitors. They are required to report to the central reception if a fire alarm is sounded. They need to have the visitor pass displayed prominently at any given point in time when they are in the premises. If they are if they have come in through their own vehicle or through a car, the designated parking slots should be mentioned in the sign-in book when it's happening, when you are checking in into the office premises. That could be one of the things which the visitors are required to do, and that would clinically, for example, differentiate how this evidence could have been presented. So if I was in your shoes, and if I put this particular evidence, just to show you and share with you how I would have written this as an evidence, would be this part. Let me just share my screen. So what you will see is that I would have broken it up, apart from the verbatim or the commentary that I've written, which is the one long paragraph. I would have clinically broken it up into roles and responsibilities of these various, heads which are required in this particular task. So how would I do this? Let me just show this to you now. 1 second. Right. So if I were to say, how would I have done this particular task? This is how it will be. So this is where it talks about the evaluation of workplace health and safety related to input and output of products, but divided for services, contractors, workplace materials, and a couple of other things. So what I've done is basically explained the main risks which are going to be there, small paragraph. I've drawn up a table of my understanding what are the input and output products and services related to occupational health and safety for this particular task. So there could be deliveries coming in, there could be some storage, there could be some production and service requirements, some dispatch happening, and then some sort of documentation that they need to keep in the office. What is the role of the contractors? What is the role of the visitors? Role of employees, equipment, goods and material, and other organizational activities. So what I've done is, if I just cut and paste the task which was there, I have covered pretty much every aspect of it in this task. And then towards the end, I've done a bit of a summary. So this is what the lecturer or the assessor actually meant, that although the evidence you have provided is fine, but the evidence could be broken down into headings, subheadings, and clinically show what the task is asking. Is that okay?
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, I understand now.
Good stuff. Any other
Okay.
queries at your end?
Sorry?
Any other queries?
No, I think it's good now.
Okay. So what I would also do in your case is, obviously, I'm very happy that obviously you're taking it positively and you want to learn and improve and better things. When you do submit your assignment, you can say, this is my draft assignment in the email, and say, can you go through this and can I get some feedback if this assignment is meeting the criteria or not? So what the lecturer or the person who picks it up for marking, they will do is, they will first send you a quick feedback to say, this is good, these are good things, these are things which you can change or improve, and that would allow you to address some of those changes in the final submission.
Because I expect that before I receive a pass or fail.
Yes, before you pass or fail. Yes.
No,
So you
but
can informally ask for that feedback.
since I have passed, means that
You don't
I
need to
have,
do anything no rework is required on this unit. You're passed.
no,
See,
I know, but I mean for the future. But if I
for
like
future, yes.
when I submit any assignment, when I receive from you that I have passed, means that I have met the criteria required,
Yes,
and
yes.
nothing else to be done.
Nothing else to be done, no.
But
But if you do want to improve, and sometimes I'll be honest with you here, most learners are happy to just pass because of the fact that they want to get through the qualification. They are essentially looking at spending a bit of time on it and they want to complete it. There are a very few set of learners in which you are coming across is that although I know I'm going to pass, but I want to make improvements. I want to maybe better my work or improve it. So in such cases, the opportunity is provided. You can submit your assignment as a draft and you can say, please find my draft submission for this particular unit. Could you provide me feedback to see if there are any improvements which could be done? And that's a generic email you can send. So instead of giving the final assessment that you passed the assignment, the lecturer will look at your work first and give you their own comments to say, this is
Mm,
place where you can do better. This is place where you can improve if you want to. And that would allow you to make changes if you want to do so. And then you can make a
okay,
final submission.
okay, I understand.
Is that
Okay,
okay?
I think it's a good
So
idea. Yeah,
this
good
thing
idea.
works very well in the graded qualifications where there is a grade you want to hit, like pass in everybody is wanting
Mm,
to get pass, but if you want to hit merit and distinction, you can ask for that feedback because you are saying that I want to hit distinction. And that's how I did it with my university dissertations. I said I'm looking at achieving distinction. Could you look at my data analysis or findings and look at my analysis that I've done for the data collection? And do you think it is good enough, or do you expect me to go out and do more questionnaires or collect more data from more than 150 participants? And my lecturer
mm,
came back to me and said, because you're doing a quantitative study and it is based on collection of data, you should go and increase your sample size from 150 to 200 if you're looking at
mm.
doing more meaningful analysis. And I did that, and I got a merit in my, degree.
Oh,
So those are things which you can ask for feedback. There is no harm in asking for it.
mm. Okay, I understand.
Is that okay?
Okay,
Good
okay,
stuff.
then. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so much.
you. Take care,
Thank you.
Ali. I will send you the command verbs and
Yes,
this recording copy just in case for your reference so that if you need to refer to it, you have it with you.
yes, definitely. Command words
Okay?
would be helpful. Yes, definitely.
No
Please do
worries.
share. Please.
No worries. Have a good
Okay,
evening, Ed, and I'll speak to you soon.
of
Take care.
course.
Take
Take
care.
care. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye.